We're so sorry that Bamboo had to close early, so we thought we'd make some of our classes available to you online. We've got an Ashtanga class today, so it's a little bit of military training, a little bit of boot camp, and I hope you enjoy it. So let's start at the front of our mat with a Gayatri mantra. Let's stand up, come to the front of your mat, and fold your hands in front of your heart center. At Bamboo, we always start our classes with a Gayatri mantra, so instead of Vande Guru Nam, it's going to be Om Bhurbhuva. So gently close your eyes, let your thumbs rest on your sternum, ground yourself through your feet, and inhale and exhale deeply. You can join me for the lyrics, or you can join me for the Om at the end. Om Bhurbhuva Suvaha Tat Savitur Vareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Join me for the Om. Gently open your eyes again, ground your feet again, rotate your heels outwards so that the outsides of your feet are aligned with the outsides of the mat. Bring your weight into your heels, lift the arches of your feet, lift your kneecaps, rotate your thighs so that your kneecaps look forward, keep your glutes gently engaged but almost relaxed, lifting your pelvic floor up, lifting your belly button up all the way to your sternum. Gently fold your hands in front of your heart center, imagining that your palms are glued together so that you get this suction cup effect, that your shoulders are engaged, and then think about your Jaladhara Bandha, your chin lock. Someone pulling your ponytail backwards and upwards, so your whole spine is aligned. Your earlobes are above your shoulders above your hips, above your knees, above your ankles. We're going to start with 3 rounds of sun salutations A, and then 3 rounds of sun salutations B, and we're going to make them harder in each round. So bear with me, you can always choose your level, you can stay with the easier version, or you can join us for the consecutively harder ones. Gently inhale, lengthen through your spine, and exhale. Inhale, reach up with your hands, keep your ribs low, so it's not a back bend, it's only an extension, rooting down through your shoulder blades. Keep your bandhas engaged, exhale, fold forward. You can bend your knees, you can keep your knees straight, both variations are perfectly alright. Try to close the gap between your thighs and your tummy. On the inhale, look up, firm your pelvic floor, and step back into plank in this first round. Press the floor, the mat away from you, and then bring your knees onto the mat. Bend your elbows backwards, bring your pubic bone on the mat, your tummy onto the mat, your chest on the mat, making sure that your elbows stay in line with your ribs, lengthening your toes, rolling up into cobra in this first round. Pulling your shoulders down, lengthening through the top of your head, and then tuck your toes under, and exhale into downward facing dog. Step your feet in a little bit again, keep your knees bent, your heels off the mat, and then rotate them out, aligning the outsides of your feet again with the outsides of the mat, like we did in our Tadasana and our mountain pose. Lift the arches of your feet, lift your sitting bones, lengthen, pull them up. Press your hands into the mat, let your thumbs look at each other, your elbow pits are rotating forward, your shoulder blades move away from each other. You close the gap between your tummy and your thighs. If you practice Ujjayi breathing, keeping all your breath in your chest, then engage your Uddiyana Bandha, your tummy lock, a little bit more, and feel how you're inhaling into the 3 dimensions of your chest. Every inhale is as long as the exhale, breathing calmly and quietly. Inhaling, coming onto the tips of your toes, shift your weight forward, shoulders in front of your wrists, and step your feet to the front of the mat. Look forward and exhale, fold, look at your knees. Inhale, come up with a straight spine, no rolling up, but use your abs, use your core, bringing your hands up above your head, and your ribs stay low. Exhale, hands in front of your heart. Inhaling, reaching your arms up again, no back bend, but just extension through the crown of your head, you may look up. Exhaling, folding forward, long straight spine, looking at your knees. Inhale, look up, firm your pelvic floor again. This time, if you want to, you can jump back into plank. Good. From plank, you may or you may not bring your knees on the mat. Bend your elbows, come low over the mat into Chaturanga, and roll over your toes. And here you can always choose from now on what your variation is. Look up in Chaturanga or in Upward Facing Dog or in Cobra, and then roll back over your toes into Downward Facing Dog. Feel into the palms of your hands. Imagine that you're lifting up energy through your palms, through the suction cups that are the palms of your hands, through your arms into your shoulders. Lengthening through your tailbone, through your sitting bones, lifting them a little bit further away from your heels. You can lengthen your legs now, you can pull your heels closer to the floor, but always be mindful of this long, straight lower back. So that's the most important part of your Downward Facing Dog. Nothing else really matters. Feel into your Ujjayi breathing. If you don't practice Ujjayi breathing, still let your breath be even. Every inhale as long as the exhale. On the next inhale then, come onto the tips of your toes, shifting your weight forward again, and see if you can just hop your feet into the space between your hands. Looking up as you do so. Exhale, look at your knees. Inhale, come up with a straight spine, reaching up. No arching, we're keeping your front ribs low. We want to lengthen through the front of our body. Exhale, hands in front of our heart. Inhaling, reaching up, one more of these. Exhaling, folding forward. Look at your knees, maybe at your belly button. Inhale, look up, form your pelvic floor. If you want to, you can jump back and you can land in Chaturanga. Keeping your elbows bent. Good. Inhaling, rolling into a Cobra or an Upward Facing Dog. And exhale into Downward Facing Dog. Once more, feeling into the alignment here. Your middle fingers are looking forward, your thumbs are looking at each other, your elbow pits are looking forward, your shoulder blades are domed and wide away from each other, your whole body is engaged. The outsides of your feet are aligned with the outsides of the mat, your toes are spread, your arches of your feet are lifted, your kneecaps are lifted, your pelvic floor is lifted, your belly button is lifted. You're lengthening through your sitting bones and you're pushing your weight into your heels because your legs are stronger than your arms. So when you feel that you're pushing all your weight into your heels, you're actually distributing your weight more evenly. Then on the inhale, you're coming back onto the tips of your toes, you're rolling forward, and you gently hop, or if you bring your weight even more forward, you float back to the front of the mat, lengthening, looking up. Exhaling, folding, nose to your knees. Inhaling, coming up with a straight spine, reaching up. Exhaling, hands in front of your heart. Let's do some salutation speed. Inhale, bend your knees, coming into Utkatasana, keeping your tailbone lifted, looking up. On the exhale, you lengthen your legs, you come into your forward bend. Inhale, look up, lengthen through your spine. Exhale, step back, jump back, your variation of coming low over the mat or onto the mat. Inhaling into Upward Facing Dog or Cobra. Exhaling into Downward Facing Dog. Inhale, turn your left foot in, step your right foot forward between your hands. And then reach your arms up, arch your back into Warrior One. Good. Exhaling, bringing your hands back down, step your right foot back into plank, from plank into Chaturanga, from Chaturanga into Upward Facing Dog or Cobra. Good. Exhaling into Down Dog. Turn your right foot in, step your left foot forward, reaching up, keeping your balance. Good. Hands touch above your head if you want to. Exhaling, hands back down. Left foot goes back. And then from plank, Chaturanga. Inhale, Upward Facing Dog or Cobra. Exhale, Downward Facing Dog, and 5 breaths here. Inhale deeply. Exhale deeply. You can make your Ujjayi breath audible in the back of your throat if that feels better or helps you concentrate on it. But feel how your body is waking up. How the movement starts flowing through your muscles. Feeling into the energy of life, the prana again. Another breath here. And then on the inhale, coming onto the tips of your toes, shifting your weight forward again. Jump or step your feet back to the front of the mat, lengthening as you look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend your knees, reach your arms up. And exhale, back to Samastiti. Inhaling, bending your knees, Utkatasana. Inhale, exhaling into Uttanasana. Inhaling into Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, jump back, step back into plank, into Chaturanga, all the way onto the mat. Inhaling into Cobra, Upward Facing Dog, your variation. Exhaling into Downward Facing Dog. Turn your left foot in. Inhale, step your right foot forward, reaching up into Warrior One again, arching your back, hips looking forward. Exhaling, big step back into plank. From plank, try a chaturanga. Inhaling into upward facing dog. Exhaling into downward facing dog. Turn your right foot in, step your left foot forward. Warrior One on the left side. And exhale, all the way back to plank, to chaturanga. Inhale into up dog. And exhale into down dog. Close your eyes again. Feel into your breath once more. Good. Concentrate. Spread your fingers, spread your toes. Think about your alignment. Your knees can always be bent. It's all about the lifting up through your sitting bones, hugging your belly button inwards, practicing your jai breathing, keeping your breath in your chest. Keeping your tummy all engaged, your pelvic floor all lifted, your Jaladhara Bandha so that your head is the extension of your spine, is all straight. One more breath. On the inhale, coming back onto the tips of your toes. Moving forward, jump, step or float to the front of the mat, lengthening your legs, looking up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend your knees. And exhale, come back to standing. Inhaling, last one, Utkatasana. And exhaling into Uttanasana. Inhaling, lift your head. Exhale, step back, jump back. Your variation of coming onto the mat, into Chaturanga, all the way onto the mat. Up dog and down dog. Turn your left foot in. Step your right foot forward. Good. Reaching your arms up. And then exhale. Bring your hands back down. Stepping your right foot back. From plank into Chaturanga, all the way onto the mat, into upward facing dog or cobra, and back into downward facing dog. Turn your right foot in, step your left foot forward, reaching your arms up, lengthening, and exhaling. Big exhale, moving all the way back into plank, into Chaturanga, into upward facing dog, and into downward facing dog. Close your eyes again. Find your downward facing dog, spread your fingers, spread your toes, align the outsides of your feet with the outsides of the mat. Lift your kneecaps, engage the front of your thighs, tilt your pelvis, lift your pelvic floor. Good, lift your belly button, keep your ujjayi breathing on, dome the space between your shoulders, strong arms, pressing yourself away from the mat. Last breath here. Inhaling, coming back onto the tips of your toes, shifting forward. One last big jump to the front of the mat. Lengthening your legs. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend your knees. Utkatasana again. And exhale, come to standing. Perfect, that was the warm-up. Are you warm?
Yes, I am.
Good. Bring your feet hip distance apart again. Hip distance is always when there's space for one fist between the base of your big toes. Align the outsides of your feet with the outsides of the mat again. And then start engaging. Start lifting the arches of your feet, your Padabandha. Lift your kneecaps. Engage the front of your thighs to protect your hamstrings. Lift your pelvic floor. Imagine closing a jacket from your pubic bone all the way up to the base of your ribs. And then gently press your palms together, engaging your shoulders. Lengthen on the inhale again through the top of your head, and on the exhale with a long straight spine. Start folding forward. You can keep your knees bent or you can keep them straight. But what I would like you to do is start closing the gap between your tummy and your thighs, and then lifting up through your sitting bones. The top of your head is facing down, so your Jaladhara Bandha is about extending towards the floor. So your spine and your head are in one line. Good, another breath here. Keep your legs all engaged, tilting like we did in the downward facing dogs. Your pelvic, your sitting bones, your pelvis a little bit more. Reaching up through them, good. On the inhale, look up, lengthen, look forward. And on the exhale, place your palms underneath your toes. Shifting your weight a little bit further forward. So you bring your weight into the front of your feet, and you'll feel that that is a bigger, deeper forward bend. Lift up through your sitting bones again. Keep your bandhas engaged, belly button lifted, pelvic floor lifted, so you get that internal strength of bringing you into this forward bend. Good, lifting up, one more breath here. And then on the inhale, let go of your hands again. Lift up, come into halfway position, bring your hands onto your hips. Next, inhale, come up all the way to standing. Inhaling, you lengthen through the top of your head, and on the exhale, you step back with your right foot facing the back of your room. Let your right toes look forward, and let your left toes turn in. Yes, good. Reach your arms out to the sides, and then on the exhale, firm your pelvic floor, shifting your left hip backwards, your right hip forwards, into a Trikonasana. Reaching up through your left hand, lengthening. Your middle fingers are reaching upwards. Your thumb can look out at the window and your pinky away from them all. Try to lengthen your hip away from your shoulder and rotate your rib cage around your spine. Good. Your Jaladhara Bandha is on here, so someone is pulling your ponytail backwards, which then aligns your whole spine. All your bandhas are there to keep you all aligned, all straight. One last breath here. And then on the inhale, come back up and just turn your left foot out, turn your right foot in, changing sides. Good. Again, on the inhale, you lengthen through the top of your head. On the exhale, you engage your bandhas, lifting up from your pelvic floor all the way to Jaladhara Bandha, your chin lock. And you bring your left hand down on your shin. If you can reach your big toes, you feel free to reach your big toes, but there's nothing gained in there. It's all about this lengthening through your spine, bringing your whole spine in one line. If you add a forward bend to it to reach your toes, it's not the same asana. Good. Try to spread your shoulders as much as you can, lengthening and lifting up, pulling your right hip away from your right shoulder. Last breath. On the inhale, come up again. Arms are still engaged, and you turn your left foot in again, your right foot out. And you feel into your left hand, your backhand, and make a big circle across the midline, bringing your left hand onto your right shin. Good. Bring your right hand onto your heart, onto your chest for a moment, reaching up with your right elbow, and then reach that hand up. You don't need a block. If you don't have one, you can use a block, but feel free to just use your body. Ashtanga is traditionally taught without props, so we don't have any. And you don't need any. Think again about Jaladhara Bandha, pulling your head back, trying to align your whole spine so you don't round yourself in this twist. One more breath. And then on the inhale, gently come back up. Extend your arms again, turn your left foot forward, your right foot in. We do the second side here. Feeling into your right hand, big half circle, an arch over the midline, bringing your right hand onto your left shin. If you're really flexible, bring it onto the outside of your right foot. And then look up, bringing your hand maybe on your heart center like you did on the other side. But if you are comfortable with the position, just stay here, reaching your shoulder away from your hip, lengthening through your fingers. Still, don't forget, you always try to lift energy upwards. So you try with your fingertips to reach the ceiling of your room. Pulling back, here's Jaladhara Bandha. I'm pulling the ponytail backwards and upwards here. Andrea's laughing. Good. It's okay. On the inhale, firm your pelvic floor, come up without wobbling, and then step your right foot back to the front of the mat into Samasti. Great. Inhaling, lengthening through the top of your head again. Exhale, step your right foot back again, this time a little bit bigger than the first time. Your toes are looking out of the window, your left toes are turned in. And now on the exhale, bend your right knee and reach your arms out to the two sides again. Good. On the exhale, bring your right arm onto your right thigh and your left hand or your left upper arm to the side of your left ear, extending all the way. Good. Try to press your left heel away, keeping your left arch lifted, your left kneecap lifted, your thigh engaged, your pelvic floor lifted, wrapping yourself around your spine again. Good. Reaching your fingers forward, so your fingers and your heel are going in opposite directions. And Jaladhara Bandha, I'm going to take it out now. Jaladhara Bandha is pulling backwards and lifting upwards. Good. One more breath here. Going a little bit deeper, bending your right knee, maybe a little bit more. Good. And then on the inhale, come back up, no wobbling, turning your left foot out, your right foot in. And then bend your left elbow, bringing your left elbow onto your thigh and your right hand into one line with your right foot. Trying to really, really make a strong line. Fingers reaching forward, heel reaching back. Twisting yourself around your spine. Good. See if you can bend your knee a little bit more. Once you want to start bringing your hand onto the floor, you have to be able to really bend forward from your hip. Don't rush it. Because you want to, the most important thing is this strong, long, straight line from your heel to your fingertips. Another breath here. Good. And then on the inhale, from your pelvic floor again, coming up, reaching your arms out, left foot turns in, right foot turns backwards. Good. Fold your hands in front of your heart center. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, take your left elbow and hook it behind your right knee. Bending your right knee again. And coming into a twist here. Here again, you want to work with bending the right knee. And if you are very flexible, you can bring your left hand onto the outside of your right foot. But it's more important working on bringing your thumbs in front of your heart center first. That's the first step into getting the flexibility for there. I'm always much in favor of not rushing, but really progressing into each asana instead of finding a way of cheating yourself into it. So stay for another breath, and then firm your pelvic floor again. Get your bandhas on without wobbling, moving over to the other side. Turning your right heel back, your left foot forward, lengthening and exhaling, folding, right elbow goes behind your left knee, and bring your thumbs into your heart center. And once you're ready, you can always go deeper. You can always bring your hand to the outside of your heel here, lengthen this arm upwards. But no rush, no need to accelerate anything. As it looks like we're going to be inside for quite some time. Good. One more breath here. And then on the inhale, come back up. And step that right foot. It's really far away. So step this right foot without wobbling back to the front of the mat. Bandhas on. Control moving forward. Great, good. It's those transitions that then make it harder and that bring the whole practice together. Inhaling, lifting up through the top of your head. Exhaling, step your right foot back, and this time your toes are looking at each other. Your heels are looking away from each other. Lift up through the arches of your feet, lift up through your kneecaps, lift up through your belly button. Inhale, reach your arms out, lengthen through the top of your head. Exhale, bring your hands onto your hips for a moment. And then bring your hands onto the mat. If you can place your palms flat on the mat, see if you can align your fingertips with the tips of your toes. If that is easy, see if you can align your fingertips, keeping your palm all the way flat on the mat with your heels. If that is easy, bring the top of your head onto the mat. But in all those variations, it's always your bandhas, your pelvic floor, your tummy, your transversus abdominis, the muscle that is corseting your midsection that is working. So try to bring your upper body into the space between your thighs, reaching down through the top of your head. One more breath here. And then on the inhale, lengthen your spine, look up again. Bring your hands onto your hips. Inhale, come up all the way. Good. Reach your arms out into the two directions, lengthen through the top of your head. Exhale, let's go down again. This time our hands stay on our hips. So gently bring your hands onto your hips, fold forward, and come into the same forward bend you did before. So in the pre, do the same thing again. But now you don't have the support of your hands, so you need more bandha strength, more internal core strength. So again, try to bring your upper body into the space between your legs, lifting up like in downward facing dog through your sitting bones. Your toes are looking at each other, your heels are looking away from each other. Good, one more breath here. And then on the inhale, lengthen your spine first, look up. Good. Exhale. Inhale, come up all the way, reach your arms out to the sides. And then on the exhale, interlock your hands behind your back, pulling your hands down. Inhale, lengthen through the top of your head. Exhale, fold forward in one deep fluid movement. Place a little bit more weight into the front of your feet. Let your toes turn in a little bit more so you really get the stretch here in the back of your legs and your hamstrings. And try to put the weight into the ball of your feet so that your hips are moving forward, your forward bend becomes deeper. And try to relax your shoulders. So the shoulders are only opening passively. Beautiful, good. Take another breath here. And then on the inhale, from here, you come back up, halfway, exhale. Inhale, coming up all the way. Good. Keep your hands on your hips this time. Don't open them. Lengthen through the top of your head again. And on the exhale, you fold forward again. Long, straight spine. Keeping your bandhas on, kneecaps lifted. And see if you can hold on to your big toes. Either to your big toes or to the outsides of your shins. And bend your elbows. Now it's really all about internal core strength. So you want to bend your elbows, you want to create strength and hold in your shoulders. so that you here have the same strength in your shoulders as if you wanted to come into a tripod headstand here, even if your head is far away from the mat, doesn't matter. But you really want to have this pulling in of your shoulders, which supports your core strength to bring your tummy closer into the space between your thighs. Last breath. And then on the inhale, lift up again halfway, exhale. Inhale, come up all the way, and we've got a very wide stance here again. So think again about coming forward without wobbling. Good. Reach your arms out to the sides. And on the exhale, you can either hold on to your elbows, or you can fold your hand in namaste behind your back. Whichever is easier, whichever is where you are. Don't try to force your hands into a namaste. If it comes easy, obviously do it. Lengthening through the top of your head again. And on the exhale, we're going to do a small step back, only about the length of one foot, 1.5 feet. So step your right foot back, facing the back of your room, all the way back. Good. Yes. And you have two variations here. Andrea has got her foot, the outside of her back foot, parallel to the short side of the mat. Or you can keep like me. You have 2 feet, like train tracks, parallel to each other. Both variations are completely viable. It's all about the forward bend. So inhale, lengthen through the top of your head. Exhale, fold forward, keeping your bandhas engaged. Looking at the end of your mat here, the front or the back end of your mat. Try not to look at your toes, try not to look at your knees, but keep your gaze forward so that your spine stays long. Pull your elbows closer together, push your palms closer inward towards each other so that your shoulders open. More than a forward bend, this is a shoulder opener. Good. Lengthening, reaching up forward. Beautiful. Now keep your hands just like they are. Lengthening here. And on the inhale, you lift up. And on the exhale, you just pivot on your heels, changing direction. Good. Lengthen, lift up. And exhale. Fold forward again, looking at the front of your mat. So don't look at your knees, at your hips, at your belly button. But you always want to have this hip opening, shoulder opening part here, very turned on. In Ashtanga, all asanas are stacked on top of each other. And if you do one, it prepares you for the next one. So you don't want to have your shoulders collapsing forward, coming into a rounded spine here, because the next ones need a lot of shoulder flexibility. Inhaling, coming back up. And then on the exhale, feel if your hands are still there, stepping your right foot back to the front of the mat. Good. So the next one is a balancing exercise. Maybe go a little bit further back. Ground yourself through your left foot and then reach your right hand up, out and forward. From your pelvic floor and see if you can lift your right leg up so high that it touches your fingers. If that doesn't work for you today, hug your knee in and just hold on to your shin. So again here, it's the standing leg that is doing all the work and that is important. It's not really of any benefit to be able to lengthen your leg here, holding onto your big toe, because what you want to feel into is lifting through the arch of your feet, through your kneecap, lifting energy up all the way through your spine, through the top of your head. And what you're doing with your right leg at the moment is really just frills. On the inhale, open your right knee out to the side and look over your left shoulder. Still keeping this lifting up, the engaged core, the engaged Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, Jaladhara Bandha on. Good. And then on the exhale, bring your knee back into the middle and see if you can bow over your knee, gently coming down. And then bring your hands onto your hips and point your toes forward. That's the hardest asana we're going to do today. 5 breaths here, bringing your toes up as high as you can. Gently grounding, lifting up. Don't lean back, because if you lean back like that, you're only balancing, but it's for your core. So you have to imagine hugging the femur, the thigh bone, back into the hip socket. Last breath here, and then bring your right leg down. Let's do the other side. Ground yourself again through the 4 corners of your foot, lifting up energy all the way through your spine. Reach your left hand out and see how far you can lift your foot. Good. Hold on to your shin and feel into that lengthening. It's really about, and again, the asanas in Ashtanga are built on top of each other. So it's about closing the gap between your thigh and your chest, hugging your knee in as close as you can before you start extending and playing with standing on one leg, holding onto your toes. But you will need this the flexibility in your hip to close here for the next asanas, much more than you will need the extension of the leg. On the exhale, open your leg out to the left, look over your right shoulder. Grounding, lifting up energy through your standing leg. And on the inhale, bring your leg back into the middle. Again, see if you can bow over your standing leg without wobbling like me. And then point your toes. Last 5 breaths here. On the exhale, bring your foot down. And we start with the next asana, which is the tree pose. And you've got lots of variations here as well. So you can start, we always start grounding through our left leg. So bring your right foot in and create a strong bind in a tree pose first. If tree pose is easy, then you can walk your feet or your right foot onto your left thigh, coming into an advanced tree pose. Pressing your foot into your thigh, and you'll feel that it takes more engagement from your bandhas. If that is easy, hold on with your left hand to your right foot. Wrap your right arm around your back, holding on to your left upper arm. And gently start walking your way down to your wrist, maybe even to your toes. From here, you can bring your left hand onto the floor, but only if your right hand holds your right foot. So don't go across the midline here. And then you can fold further, bringing your palm onto the mat, aligning the heel of your hand with the heel of your foot. Bringing your forehead onto your shin, which I can't do while I'm talking. And one more breath here. Inhale, come back up. And exhale, bring your foot back down. Good. Let's try the other side. Grounding through your right leg. And it's all work in the bandha. So even if you are in a tree pose, work with pressing your foot into the leg, your leg into your foot. Folding your hands, lengthening through the top of your head. If you want to go deeper, bring your foot onto your thigh, holding on with your right hand to your toes. Bringing the left hand behind the back, and here you've got the shoulder opening quality. And then you can bring your hand down. Let go of the right hand. Don't come down holding on your toes with the right hand. Bringing your left hand down, but only if your hand can hold your left toes. Open the right hand, bring it onto the floor and fold forwards. On the inhale, gently come back up. Try without wobbling. And then step your left foot down. Fold your hands in front of your heart. Come to the front of your mat if you aren't already. And then on the inhale, reach your arms up. Keep your ribs low. Exhaling, folding into a forward bend. Inhale, look up, firm your pelvic floor, and then step back or jump back like you did in sun salutations. Into plank, into chaturanga, into an upward facing dog. And the cobra, the downward facing dog. Turn your left foot in, and then step your right foot forward. This time taking a little bit more care that your right heel is aligned with the arch of your left foot. Moving into a warrior one. Press your palms together. In Ashtanga, your palms are always pressed together, and you're lengthening through the top of your head. You can press your upper arms into your ears. Ashtanga is mainly a self-practice, so you don't usually have to listen to someone explaining. So you can really use your arms and press them into your ears. You don't need to hear anyone. Let your hips look forward. Bend into your right knee. Have a little look at your right kneecap, that it's aligned with the middle foot bone of your middle toe in your front foot. Good. Try to lift the arch of your back foot. Lift your knee here. One more breath. And then on the exhale, just turn your toes looking towards the back of the mat. And come into the same alignment here. Imagine that your hip bones are the headlights of a car, and they want to put look right to the front of the mat. You can really arch your back. Your first warrior is a heart opener. So you can lift your ribs, you can lift your sternum away from your pubic bone, lengthening all the way here. Beautiful. Good. On the next exhale, open out into warrior two, hugging your floating ribs in. Extending through your two arms. Think about Jaladhara Bandha again. Ponytail backwards and upwards. And align your chin with your arms. Bend into your front knee a little bit more. Pushing your right heel away. And at the same time lifting your Pada Bandha on both feet.
And imagine that you're pushing your whole weight away from you, away from the mat. Lifting, lengthening upwards, channeling energy from your legs, through your spine, through your chakras, all the way to the top of your head. Last breath. And then from here, turn your toes. Pivot on your heels, bending into your right knee. And again, think about hugging those floating ribs in, lengthening through the top of your head. Bending into that right knee. Imagine being a warrior, your gaze is along your front middle finger. Last breath here. Now on the next exhale, circle your arms, landing them by the side of your right foot. Step that right foot back into plank. From plank into chaturanga, inhaling into an upward facing dog. And exhaling into a downward facing dog. Good. Now gently hop your feet to the middle of the mat. The small hop and come to sitting. Lengthening your legs out in front of you, come into Dandasana. We've done the standing part. Good? Right. Good. So here, when you're sitting in Dandasana, press your heels away, pull your toes in so that your feet are gently flexed. You can bring your heels a little bit further away, but that your toes touch. And lift the arches of your feet, your Pada Bandhas, lifting your kneecaps, engaging the front of your thighs. Bring your hands to the sides of your hips. Press your hands into the mat. Lift your Mula Bandha, your pelvic floor. Lift your belly button so that your whole spine is again one straight line, that your earlobes are on top of your shoulders, on top of your sitting bones. This is Dandasana, or first asana of the seated series. And this is also your base for all other asanas. So you always, when the leg that is extended, always wants to have the same engagement. Lifting of the arch of the foot, of the kneecap, of the pelvic floor. One more breath here. Lengthening through the crown of your head. And then on the exhale, fold forward. You can hold on to your big toes. You can hold on to your shins. Traditionally, it's always the big toes with your index fingers, middle fingers, and thumbs. But you don't have to. I'd rather have you close the gap between your tummy and your thighs. Let go of your toes for a moment. Just let go of them. Good. And lift up. I don't want you to round your back, but lift your shoulders up backwards. Thinking about Jaladhara Bandha, gently pulling your chin down and lengthening through the top of your head. And when you feel your forward bend that the muscles at about bra height are working, then your forward bend is perfect. It's not about getting your head close to your knees, to your shins, but it's all about starting to close your forward fold from your tummy. So if you're here, if your fingers are digging into your legs or into the mat, your elbows are pulling back and your whole back is working, is engaged, then you're right. On the exhale, on the inhale, come up a little bit more. On the exhale, fold forward a little bit more. Gently lifting your chest, trying to bring your tummy closer to your thighs, keeping your bandhas turned on, heels pressed away, arches engaged. Folding forward. And if your tummy and your chest is on your thighs, then you can drop forward all the way, folding in. But if you're still here, if there's quite a big gap from your tummy to your thighs, think about pulling your shoulders back, lifting, leading with your heart, pulling your chin back so you don't lead with your chin and you crunch up your neck. But you want to work with the extension through your spine, so you've got the same spinal position as in a downward facing dog. One more breath here. And then on the inhale, sit up again, fold your legs under, bring your hands onto the mat in front of you, and then see if you can press into the outside edges of your feet, lifting your hips up. We're going to make those harder every round as well. Stepping your feet back into downward facing dog. Good. From the downward facing dog, come into plank. From plank into chaturanga, inhaling into an upward facing dog, and exhaling into downward facing dog again. Now gently hop your feet, maybe underneath your belly button or maybe all the way, shifting your weight forward like we did in the sun salutations, all the way between your hands. And come to sit here. Good. So our first asana is going to bring our right foot on the front of your left thigh. We did the same thing standing up. So bring your right foot onto the top of your left thigh. Take your left hand, hold onto your toes. And then take your right hand and wrap it around your back, holding onto your upper arm. And then see if you can sit tall and you can come into a gentle forward bend here. If you can walk your fingers towards your toes, holding onto your toes here, and then reaching only if your left hand is free. Your right hand is always behind your back, it never comes forward. Only if your left hand is free, you can hold on to the outside edge of your left foot and gently come into forward bend here. But again, it's perfectly all right having your hands behind your back. It's again a shoulder opener, which you need for the following asanas. So don't rush it, don't try to round your back into this forward bend. But work with leaning forward, keeping your bandhas engaged, your heel pressed away, your toes pulled in. Good. On the inhale, gently come back up. On the exhale, change sides, lengthening your right leg, bringing your left foot onto your right thigh, holding onto your toes with your right hand, threading your left hand behind your back, pushing your right heel away, right toes in, and then if you can hold onto your foot, you can take your right hand. Only if your right hand is free, you fold forward and you hold onto the outside of your foot and you fold into this forward bend. Deep breathing, deep ujjayi breathing, your bandhas are engaged. If you feel that your tummy is wobbly, hug it in. Lift your pelvic floor, sitting bones on each asana that we are on the mat here. Your sitting bones are pulling in towards each other. Your pubic bone is moving towards your tailbone. Inhaling, coming back up. And exhale, cross your legs under. Again, pressing up through the outsides of your feet. Bring your hands onto the mat and step your feet back into plank this time, making it a little bit harder. Good. Inhaling, coming into an upward facing dog or cobra, and exhaling into downward facing dog. Now, if you want to jump further forward, you can, but see if you can land with your feet, with your ankles crossed. So bring your weight forward again, shoulders in front of your wrists, float forward, cross your ankles, come to sit. Good. Lengthening your legs out to the front. And now, fold your right foot back. If you see that your foot is facing backwards and the sole of your foot is not looking up at the ceiling, you will need a block to sit on, because we don't want to have an internal rotation in your knee, an internal rotation in your hip, and not external rotation in your knee. So give yourself a little bit of leverage and bring the sole of your foot to look up at the ceiling. From here again, you press your left foot away, your toes are pulled in, your kneecap is lifted to support your hamstrings. Inhaling, lifting up, and then tilt forward, bringing your pubic bone further towards the mat, lifting up through your sitting bones and tailbone. Walk your hands forward, pull your shoulders back, and again, you want to lead with your sternum, with your heart center, and not with your head or your chin. Good. Leaning forward, folding, closing the gap. If you can hold onto your foot here. If your tummy is all the way on your thigh, you can look down. If your tummy is not on your thigh, always look at your toes. Or if you've got a beautiful view in front of you, look towards the front. One more breath here. And then on the inhale, lengthen, look up, and change side. Lengthen your right leg, fold your left leg under. Lifting up through the top of your head, pressing your right heel away. Engaging your bandhas, leaning forward. Imagine lifting up your tailbone and your sitting bones, bringing your pubic bone down. You can walk your fingers forward, but always work on keeping your elbow pits looking up, bending your elbows and pulling your elbows back so your chest does all the lifting. Often the muscles in our back, between our shoulder blades at bra height, are too long because we slouch most of the time when we're sitting. So in yoga, we want to work against that. You want to sit up and you want to lean forward with this straight spine. Good. Another breath here. And then on the inhale, come back up. Fold your legs under again. If you've got a block, you can get rid of it now. Bring your hands back to the front of the mat and step back or jump back into plank. Untangling your feet here while you're flying. Coming into chaturanga. Inhaling into cobra, upward facing dog. Exhaling into downward facing dog. Good. Then bring your weight forward again. And let your ankles cross, maybe a little bit further forward on the mat if you want to go further. Keep them cross here and come back down to sitting. Good. Lengthen your legs. Push your left heel away from you. Pull your right foot in. Press your right foot onto the inside of your thigh, creating a strong bind here. Like you did when you were standing up in tree pose. You really want to create a connection between the sole of your foot and your thigh. Lifting up again, and then walking your fingers forward, leading with your heart. Don't think about rounding into this forward bend and just trying to bring the top of your head onto your knee or onto your shin, but rather lift up, fold forward, and once your tummy and your chest are touching your thigh, and your chin can actually hook behind your knee like this, and you can still look forward, then you can also bring the top of your head down. But work on bringing that chin in front of your knee, on your shin. Folding forward, your left leg is super engaged, your right foot is pushing in, your bandhas are on. All of those seated positions are still positions where you're using your whole body. It's not only rounding and falling forward, but actually lengthening, elongating over your leg. On the inhale, come back up, change sides. Push your left foot into your right thigh into your left foot, lengthening through the top of your head. And then exhale, folding forward, walking your hands forward, gently elongating, pulling your elbows back, elbow pits looking forward. The bandhas in the palms of your hands, your hasta bandhas, are turned on as well. So you're thinking about lifting energy upwards. It doesn't matter if you hold onto your foot, if you cross your wrists behind your foot, but only do that, only hold onto your foot if your spine can stay straight. If you hold onto your toes and you're in this position with your pelvic tilted backwards, it's not good for your spine. So you want to work on lifting up, keeping your elbows close to your chest, like you do in Chaturanga, and lengthening through the top of your head. Good. Another breath here. And then on the inhale, come back up, fold your legs under again, bring your hands onto the mat, step back or jump back into, if you want to, directly Chaturanga, coming low over the mat, making it a little bit more difficult. Inhaling into upward facing dog or cobra, exhale into downward facing dog. And maybe if you want to, you can jump your feet, ankles crossed, into the space between your hands. And then look up, keep your hips above the floor, and reach your legs out to the front of the mat. Bring your hips down. Good. From here, come a little bit back. And here, the next asana we're going to do, you fold your right leg in, and we're going to sit on our heel. So you go, at first you bring your foot onto the inside of your left thigh, you lift your hips up, you bring the top of your foot onto the mat, and you'll sit with your perineum on your heel. It's a little bit of an awkward position, so think about lengthening. It's a preparatory position for Padmasana. If you can, fold forward over your leg again, but think again about leading with your heart, keeping your spine straight. There might be a lot of pressure in your right foot at the moment. Bear with it. It's only another breath. We're going to do our 5 breaths really fast. Stay here or fold forward if your spine stays straight. Inhale and come back up. Exhale, change sides. Reaching your right leg out, folding your left foot in. And then you bring the top of your left foot onto the mat, lift your hips up, shift yourself forward, sitting with your perineum and the space between your sitting bones on your foot. And you want to soften this tissue in your feet to prepare them for Padmasana, for lotus pose. Lifting up through your chest, pulling your elbows back. It's the same forward bend, the same engagement in your bandhas, in your extended leg, as in the previous one. Good. Another breath here. If you can fold all the way forward, but no rush, no need. It's more a strengthening practice than an actually flexibility practice. It's a form of Hatha Yoga. Inhale and come up. Exhale, fold your legs under, bring your hands onto the mat, step back or jump back into plank. Good. Inhaling into an upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. And then gently bring your weight forward and jump through, lengthening your legs and coming down to sitting. Now we're just playing. The next one, actually, bring your feet in and come onto the tips of your toes. Into like a cockerel position. Have a little look at your toes and maybe open your heels a little bit more so that all your toes are on the mat. And all the toes get a stretch when you now bring your knees onto the mat. And you can keep your hands here to keep weight out of your toes. You can lift up, let your hands rest here. Or if you want to, you can fold your hands in front of your heart. The actual asana is another version of a toe stretch, but this is a little bit easier and more accessible for everyone. What I was saying is that all types of movement yoga are Hatha Yoga practices. There is always the balance between lengthening and strengthening. And Ashtanga has got a lot to do with strength at the same time with the lengthening, with the stretching, with the elongating of muscles part. So you want to keep that even, but there's a lot of strengthening happening here. If you can still feel your toes, do another 3 breaths here. Usually we would have worked on both sides, 10 breaths. So you stay a little bit longer here. Lifting up through the top of your head, maybe on the last breath going a little bit deeper, lengthening your toes a little bit more. And then on the exhale, bring your hands back to the sides of your knees and step your feet towards the end of the mat. Good. From this plank, come into a beautiful chaturanga, rolling over your toes. That should feel really smooth now, into an upward facing dog. And exhaling into downward facing dog. Gently roll your toes here a little bit. And then hop your feet back into your variation of the vinyasa. Maybe coming all the way to sitting here, extending your legs, whatever feels good for you. Our next asana is the first Marichasana. So keep your left leg straight. Bring your right foot with your heel into one line with your sitting bone. Take your right arm and just feel into bringing that knee further back behind your spine, behind your shoulder. And then on the inhale, lift your right arm up and wrap it around your right shin, letting your thumb look forward first, downwards, and then backwards. So you create this, this twist in your shoulder, the forward rotation, inward rotation in your shoulder. Take your left hand and see if you can fold your hands behind your back. Again, traditionally, Ashtanga is not taught without any props, so you don't get a belt. So you just work your way, lengthening, opening your shoulders on the previous asanas, so that your hands touch. If that is easy, you can always fold forward, bringing your forehead onto the mat here. But again, building up, working with strength and flexibility at the same time. Good. Another breath here, lengthening through the top of your head. And then exhale, let go. Inhale, lengthen your leg, lengthening through the top of your head, and bring your left foot into one line with your left sitting bone. Again, feel into pushing that knee back first, because that's what you're going to need, the openness in the hip, the openness in the shoulder. And then lift your left hand up, wrap it around your shin here. Thumb is looking forward, downward, backwards as well here. Holding hands behind your back and folding forward. Bringing your shin onto your knee, onto the floor. But think again about rather closing the gap here, trying to let your hands meet behind your back before you add the forward bend. Good. Keeping all your bandhas on as well here, pushing your right heel away, your toes in, kneecap is lifted, so you always have this strong base. Your left foot is also pushing into the mat. It's not just rotating and falling forward with you to facilitate holding hands, but it's got its firm place here. Inhaling, letting go of your hands, exhaling, folding your legs under. Bringing your hands onto the mat. Inhale, push yourself up. Exhale, land on or above the mat. Coming into an upward facing dog or a cobra. Exhaling into downward facing dog. And then jump your feet forward into your variation again. Maybe sliding all the way through, coming to sit down, whatever feels good and right for you. And the next asana is going to be Marichasana C. You keep your left leg long, bring your right foot in. And now you can either, that's why we did when we were standing up, we were trying to close the gap between the thigh and the chest. You can either hold on to your right knee with your left hand, wrapping yourself around your spine. You can use your left elbow as a hook, pushing your knee over the midline, looking over your right shoulder here, keeping your left foot all the way engaged. Or if you can, once your elbow is behind the outside of your right knee, you can wrap your hand around, extend your hand, touching the inside of your left shin, the outside of your left shin with the back of your hand, and let your left hand slide up the outside of your left thigh, holding hands behind your back. Good. But the important thing again here is that you start working on closing the gap between your right thigh and the left side of your chest, lengthening through the top of your head. Pulling those shoulders away from each other, lengthening through the top of your head and having all your bandhas on. Pull your toes in, press your heel away so that your whole body is part of this Marichasana C. Good. On the inhale, come back. On the exhale, change sides, bringing your left foot in. And again, keeping that right foot engaged, Left hand goes behind your back, and then you can either hold on, closing the gap between the front of your left thigh and the right side of your chest. Then if your elbow slides in place easily, do that. And if you can, hold hands behind your back. Keeping all your bandhas on, lengthening through the top of your head. We all have the tendency to bring our chin forward, but try to sit up tall and don't fold into a forward bend here. Last breath here. And then on the inhale, coming back into the middle. On the exhale, fold your legs under, another vinyasa. Last one. Bring your hands to the front of the mat, jump back, doing your best in your vinyasa here. Landing in chaturanga, inhaling into an upward facing dog, exhaling into downward facing dog. Now you don't have to jump back forward, but land your feet underneath your belly button, so it's only a tiny hop here. And then come to sit on your sitting bones, hold on to your shin bones here. And then lift your feet up, coming into Navasana, into boat pose. You can lengthen your legs all the way. We're going to do 3 rounds at 5 breaths. Hugging your tummy in. When you feel that your tummy is coming up and doming like this, do less. Hold onto the back of your thighs so that you can keep your tummy, your Uddiyana Bandha, gently engaged and your tummy stays in. You can always extend your feet here. You can bring your hands parallel to the floor, your variation. On the exhale, first 5 breaths are over. Hook your toes under, your ankles under. Bring your hands forward and see if you can lift up. Even if you can't lift up, perfectly all right. And come back into Navasana. See if you can keep your Ujjayi breathing on here. No movement in your tummy. All your breathing is happening in your chest. Lengthen through the top of your head. Pull your shoulders back again. Good. And then hook your ankles under. Lift up in another asana. What's it called? Another dangling position here, and the last 5 breaths there. Breathe deeply, feel into your variation, lifting, lengthening, holding onto your thighs, keeping your hands down or parallel to each other, whatever feels right for you. Last breath here. This time you don't have to lift up, lengthen your legs, moving through an Ardha Navasana all the way onto the mat. Have a deep breath here. That was the seated sequence, and we're moving into our finishing postures. So one deep breath into your tummy, let go of your Uddiyana Bandha for a moment, and then gently bend your knees. With your fingers, feel that you can touch your heels. If you can touch your heels, you're in the right position. Press your palms into the mat and lift your hips off the mat, setting up for bridge pose. Pressing your hips upwards, your chest towards your chin towards your chest, and interlock your hands behind your back. And then you walk your shoulders together and you lift up here. Stay for 5 breaths. Good. See if you can keep your Ujjayi breathing on. Keeping your tummy from moving while you breathe. That's really hard here. And on the exhale, gently come back down. You can do another 2 rounds of bridge pose. If you want to, you can come into a wheel pose, which is the same position. But you keep your feet hip distance apart. You see if you can touch your heels with your fingers. Then you bring your palms next to your ears, fingertips looking at your shoulders, and let your elbows look up. Don't come up when your elbows are looking out to the sides. So let your elbows look up, lift your hips, push your hands into the mat and roll onto the top of your head. If you're happy on the top of your head, you can lengthen your arms, play with the possibilities, and then stay here for 5 breaths. On the next exhale, gently come back down. And if you need help, it's always good to have someone standing behind you if you want to practice your wheel pose. And you hold on to this person's shins, bringing your elbows close together. You walk in a little bit closer towards your ears. So you still want to have your hands next to your ears. And then you imagine you're pushing that person away from your mat, lengthening your arms, and they actually just have to support you a little bit, lengthen your elbows. Yes, push yourself really away from me, then I don't have to do anything. Good. Stay for another breath here. And then gently come back down. Beautiful. Hug your knees onto your chest, holding onto your shins. Make yourself into a small little ball. And that was your final back bend here. Stay for another breath, just hugging your thighs as close to your chest as you can. So our counter posture, we're not going to do another Paschimottanasana. So here we are. And then let's work on our finishing postures. Keep your thighs hugged into your chest. Bring your palms onto the mat, grounded. Walking your shoulder blades a little bit closer together. And then let your palms look up into the direction of your face. Hug your knees into your chest, lift your hips up, and support your back, your hips with your hands. Like we did in bridge pose, walk your hands a little bit closer together, lifting up all the way to the tips of, through the tips of your toes. Pointing them, and stay here for a moment. Good. If you still have someone to help, they can lift your toes gently, and you can bring your elbows closer together. Good. Stay for another 2 breaths here. Should be 8 breaths in total. And then gently hug your knees onto your forehead on an exhale. And maybe bring your toes all the way onto the mat. Good. Beautiful. Bring your hands onto the mat. You're in the first in Halasana and plow pose. You want to have your palms on the mat. Trying to reach your toes down. If your toes touch the mat easily, you can see if you always have your toe pads tucked under, see if you can bring your toenails onto the mat. And then push back, coming a little bit deeper into your plow pose. Stay for another 2 breaths here. And then interlock your hands behind your back and bring your knees onto your ears. Seeing if you can bring your knees all the way on the mat. Walking your shoulder blades maybe a little bit closer together again. Folding yourself under all the way. From here, with your shoulder blades closer, support your lower back again, your chest again, and come back up into our shoulder stand. Point your toes for another moment. And then gently roll your spine down. Coming into our last asana, into a fish pose. Bring your hands in Ashtanga, they're not under your hips, but they're actually on your hip bones. So bring your hands onto your hip bones, hug your elbows really close inwards towards your hips, not towards your chest, so your back is already arching. The back of your head is resting on the mat, and you press your elbows into the mat and you let your high head slide in and under. Point your toes. If you want to still add to the practice, you can now lift your arms off the mat, press your palms together, and lift your legs off the mat into a 45-degree angle. But only if you still have strength, if you still have energy. Otherwise, stay in a classic fish pose for another 2 breaths here. Lovely, good. And then gently come down. Give yourself another good stretch and come into Shavasana. Let yourself relax on the mat. Let your toes drop out to the sides. If there's any movement you feel that your body needs now, you can do that. If you feel like doing a headstand and you're a headstand pro, do a headstand. We're going to do a tutorial on that as well. Or just let yourself relax into the mat. You can stay in Shavasana. Let yourself relax here. And whenever you feel ready, come back up to the mat, come back up to sitting, finish your practice with a moment of silence. or just stay in Shavasana, and just stay in Shavasana for as long as you want. Thank you for participating in our class. See you on the mat very soon, or see you at Bamboo. Thank you.